lot of people ask me lately to share my lemon square recipe as a tutorial, so today that's what we're gonna do. Lemon squares are something that I never used to understand until I had my good friend Valerie's lemon squares, and then I realized that they're amazing, one of the best desserts in the world. So today I'm going to be using her recipe. So I've got my oven preheating to 350 degrees, and then I've got this 9x13 glass baking dish that I have lightly greased with butter and then lined with parchment paper for ease. So I'll set that aside for now. So for lemon squares, we start by making the shortbread crust. So you'll start with 1 cup of butter. You want this to be softened and chilled. So you can either completely soften it and then put it back in the fridge to chill it, or just soften it to an extent where you can press your thumb into the stick with force to be able to press down, but not be able to squeeze it like it's too soft, if that makes sense. I like to chop mine into large cubes just to give the mixer an easier time incorporating the butter since it's still kind of hard. So I put that in the mixing bowl. Then you're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. Now you can technically do all of this by hand. I like to use the KitchenAid for the shortbread specifically because the butter, like I said, is still kind of hard, so it is kind of a workout to get everything incorporated, and you don't want it to take too long because you don't want your butter to get too soft. So I use the KitchenAid, and we're going to beat this until it becomes what will look like coarse crumbs. You don't want it to incorporate so much that it becomes a dough, and that would happen if your butter was too soft, but I'll let you see what it looks like when it becomes coarse crumbs. Okay, so I ran my mixer on low for about 3 minutes and then did a nice twirl on medium for about 30 seconds in order to get this texture here. So you're gonna have clumps that are about the size of peas. Kind of see that, and that's what we're going for here. Take our shortbread mixture and just pour it into the 9x13 dish. Spread it evenly, and you do want to press it down slightly. You want the shortbread to be crumbly, that's why we have this texture, but you don't want it to fall apart. So give it just a little bit of a press, make sure it's all even. One of the most important steps with lemon squares is what's called a blind bake. So a blind bake is where we just simply take the crust and we're going to put that in the oven and bake it completely before we do the filling and then bake that. So the crust will go in the oven at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, and you'll notice it'll get a nice light golden brown on top, and that's when we're going to know that it's done. So I'm going to do that right now. So while the crust is in the oven, I'm going to get started on the filling. So I've wiped down my mixing bowl and paddle attachment so they are clean, and I'm going to put 2 cups of granulated sugar, a tablespoon of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon baking powder, and then just a dash of kosher salt. So I gave the dry ingredients just a little twirl in the KitchenAid to combine those, and now I'm going to add the 2 wet ingredients. So first up, you have 4 eggs. You want to lightly beat those with a fork before throwing them in, so just like so. Dump that in. And then 1/3 cup of lemon juice. It is totally vital that you use fresh squeezed lemon juice. Don't use the little lemon plastic thing that you can buy at the store, or even like a fresh squeezed bottle of lemon juice. Actually use fresh squeezed lemon juice. Now to get 1/3 cup, I used about 3 medium lemons. So I usually have about 4 or 5 on hand if I'm gonna make lemon squares, just because you never know how juicy they're gonna be. So go ahead and add that in. And we'll mix it all together. You just want to stir this on low. We don't want to beat the eggs, we're just combining everything. And then it's really important that you use a rubber spatula and get the sides as well as the bottom, so no sugar sits down there and everything's combined evenly. just pulled the crust out of the oven. It's got a slight golden brown edge around it, which is ideal. I'm gonna take my filling and just give it a nice little stir with my spatula. Make sure it's all combined still really nicely. And then just pour it straight over the crust like this. So you'll just want to pick up the sides here and make sure the filling is spread evenly over the crust. And then we're gonna pop it back in the oven, still at 350 for another 20 minutes. All right, so it's been 20 minutes and I'm taking this out of the oven. You can see here it's got a nice little brown on top, a little darker on the edges. If you shake it like this and there's a big wobble, it's probably not done. If there's a slight wobble, it'll cook through while it's cooling, but any large wobble, you want to keep it in the oven. So the hardest part about lemon squares is this stage, being patient enough for them to cool completely because they smell so good. All right, it's been a couple hours, so I'm going to go ahead and take these out of the pan. You want to grab both ends of this parchment paper and pull it tight. Lift it out and set it on a flat surface. Now take a large knife, begin to cut into squares. And after they're all cut, we'll sprinkle powdered sugar. So I've got my powdered sugar in a sifter here. Just going to lightly tap the side. Get a nice dusting of powdered sugar on each square. Pull the parchment paper out. I just take my knife, put it on the edge here, and then just slide it out from underneath. Like so. All right, so you should have a nice layer of shortbread here with your lemon filling. You're gonna love them.